the exhibition at the Fitzwilliam, where your work is some of your more recent work is being displayed, exhibition Drawn by Hand. What exactly is it all about?
Well, the nature of the show, I mean, I'll come at that sideways.
Okay, no, fine.
The nature of the show came about because I was talking to the Fitzwilliam about doing an exhibition, and the space available for it is the Shiva Gallery, which is a gallery set up for really for prints, so that you don't hang directly on the walls, you hang in cases.
Okay.
And that seemed to me to give an opportunity to show individual work. So what it's about is taking one work on each occasion out of a series of pictures and looking closely at it. That's really what it's about. So that it's if there might be a series of pictures of well, what I call like birds, which is birds as people, or people as birds, whichever it is. And I will have 10, 15 or 30 of those pictures. What we've done is taken one and looked closely at that, so that you can see the way that the technique is works. So you're invited to look closely at just that one. And also in the gallery, fortunately, there are showcases where I can show the things that the pictures are actually drawn with.
Yes, okay.
That's what it's about, really, for me.
I'm sure you're aware, but the response to your work in the Fitzwilliam has been fantastic. Even that small exhibition, there's been, a huge number of people going along.
Well, it seemed to. I've been away for a couple of weeks, so it seemed to start well. But it's carried on, has it? I hope so. I'm going to try and get to it just before it closes.
Oh, right. Okay, so there'll be a. Are they expecting you, or are you just going to walk in?
Well, they're not expecting me yet, but I'm hoping to get in next week. But I better ring to make sure it's still on. But anyway, I look forward to seeing it once more.
Yes, yeah. I mean, how does it feel to be having your work displayed back in Cambridge? Because obviously you were at Downing all those years ago. Does it feel? I mean, does it feel any different?
Well, it does. I mean, it feels different from showing it somewhere where you're not known. What has been nice for me, in a way, is that over the past 10 years or so, when this work was done, I've been to Cambridge much more than I used to. I mean, you leave Cambridge, you get on with your life, sort of.
Yeah.
And I've been teaching illustration, and I've been being an illustrator, and so on and so on. But in recent years, I've got back in touch with the college a bit more, and I've got involved with the alumni, and I've done things for the college, and I'm just giving them a set of drawings, which they'll be able to hang in the college. And
oh, wow,
like that.
Fantastic.
So
yeah.
it all seems sort of part of the same thing. It's very nice indeed. And of course, when I come to Cambridge, I'm still there, but it sort of reminds me of being there a long time ago.
Yeah, I'm sure it does. I'm sure I can imagine. Yeah, I mean, even when I go away and come back to Cambridge, I sort of get this sort of nostalgia. I don't know quite why, because I've only been here for a couple of years. But yeah, I can see what you mean.
Well, it has such a distinctive personality. You develop a taste for grey brick somehow, right? Something like that.
When you were at Cambridge, I mean, did you do a lot of drawing, or was it really? I mean, when did you start really getting into what you do now so well?
I started when I was at school, although quite badly. I mean, I got jokes published. The drawings were not good. I mean, I started getting drawings published before I knew how to draw, almost, really. And I did some things at Cambridge. I did one or two pictures for one or two issues of Granta, which was an undergraduate magazine then.
Okay.
And I used to go to life classes at Cambridge Art School, but I didn't really get going until I left. And when I also took a education degree, because I thought I might not be able to make a living as an artist. So and teaching was very interesting to me, and still is. But I didn't do it. I thought I'll try my luck, and I started as a cartoonist and an illustrator, and things gradually worked, kind of thing.
So then, would you have become, do you think, a teacher had you not really become so successful as an artist? Do you think you would have gone into teaching in some form?
Yes, I would. No, I mean, I'm fascinated by it, and in fact, I was rather anxious. I mean, I didn't know I could make a living as an artist. So I was earning a few pounds a week, kind of thing, living at home, and I didn't know whether it was going to work or not. But I didn't want to get into teaching too soon because I thought it would be tiring, which it would have been. But I thought it also might be too interesting.
Okay.
I wanted to get on with being an illustrator.
Yes, you've just said that you went to life classes when you were in Cambridge. Do they ever teach you how to get inspiration, or is it just really something that comes naturally to you? Is there ever a technique for something like that?
There is no, as far as I'm concerned, there's no technique. And there's no place. There's what you do is you sit down, and it's an advantage if you draw. You start drawing, and at the point you start drawing, you have no ideas. And you just freewheel for a bit, and you get some drawings, and then you start thinking, oh, I could do, perhaps I could do that differently. Perhaps I could, and you sort of edge forward. And in a way, there's no, in the way that I work, there's no, lightning flash of inspiration. It kind of creeps up on you, I think. You discover that's something that you want to do.
Yes, but so you don't find that there's ever a sort of particular place, I don't know, say, as you were saying, being in Cambridge, you like the idea of the grey brick, being in that sort of place triggers something, or do you find really it is all in the mind?
No, I think there are two ways the one is being in the room, which is my studio in London, and with everything about me, if you see what I mean, different materials I can work with and so on.
Yeah.
That starts things cooking generally. Or also, and I spend quite a lot of time in France, and I find the thing there is I find I'm sort of there are less urgent deadlines and things of that kind. I almost start to be bored, And then I start having new ideas, just to find something to do almost.
Yes,
but I don't know where ideas come from.
But that's very interesting what you just said about how it's almost when you're bored you get more ideas, so that when the pressure is off, that's when creativity can flow. Yeah, that's.
Yes, I realise that. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I suppose it's just something that it just almost seems counterintuitive, but
yes,
or does it? That's.
It's wrong, but I've come back, and one or two friends who look at my work with me sometimes, they said, but you got rather bored when you were on holiday. I had my own place in France so that I could draw when I get there, because I'm not very good at being on holiday. And they said, I know, well, you did these in France, didn't you? You'd forgotten that you'd done them. And I've come up with strange sequences of pictures coming back from that.
Yeah, that's, oh gosh, yes, I'm sure. So, yeah, wonderful place to be to draw. I suppose one of the reasons why I asked you that sort of question about inspiration is because Roald Dahl, someone who you worked with, way back when, illustrating his books, he's known, or was known, for being very specific about where he wrote. It had to be exactly arranged, at least that's what's reported. And that's just, when you worked with him, did you ever pick up, I don't want to say that obsessive streak, but I suppose in some ways it was almost very sort of regimented, that sort of style.
I couldn't do it like that. But of course there's a difference with me working with him, because he needed to be entirely isolated, on his own, not interrupted, no telephone,
yeah.
Sort of thing. And almost cocooned. And that was the way that he found he could do it, because he was he's a very practical and active man, and I suppose he had to cut himself off in that way. But of course, what I'm doing with what he's writing is I'm more like a performer or an interpreter.
Uh-huh.
So I'm relating to him all the time. So I don't want to be cut off. I want to be thinking about it. So it's a little bit different.
Were you approached by Roald Dahl, or was there a selection process, or was it really?
I think I wasn't approached by him. There may have been a selection process, which I wasn't fully aware of, but he moved from our previous publisher to Jonathan Cape, and Cape suggested to him that he might do a picture book, which is a thing he'd never done before. And that was that book, The Enormous Crocodile. And
okay.
An illustrator for it. And I think they tried me, but I think they probably tried several other people as well, but I don't know who they were. And so I was taken on. I was published by them already, in fact, Cape. So they were my publishers, but I was taken on to do that book. But I mean, neither of us at that stage knew that we were going to do a lot more. I mean, we that's something that sort of developed over the next 2 or 3 books. We found we could make it work.
Yes, I mean, it seems just to me, and I'm sure many would agree, that your style and his style just seem to fit. Just, I don't know quite how, but when I read the books and look at the books and I can just sort of see the drawings, there's something about Roald Dahl that allows for imagination, and there's something about your drawings that also allow for imagination.
No, good. Well, I just tried for it, you know. I mean, I can't say exactly. I mean, one thing was probably good about him was we were very different sort of people, you know. I mean, he was much more, I mean, there's lots of activity in my pictures, but that's because I'm lazy. You know, whereas in the activity in his books, because he was active, which is different. I mean, it's 5 areas with me, but I think our views of a lot of things would be quite different. I think, but it was that facet of caricature, I think.
Yeah,
and that's what we liked, and in fact, and he liked pictures. Of course, not all writers do, you know. And I mean, he wanted more pictures. He didn't like it if there weren't enough pictures, and he wanted the pictures to do some of the work. So we got on very well on that score. He was terrifically professional.
Yeah.
You know.
I'm guessing, you know, the times that you spent doing illustrations for his books were very memorable. Do you have a favourite moment from those days?
Well, there were tons, actually.
Yeah.
It was quite nice. I'd do some drawings and take them down to Gypsy House, you know, and I sort of knew the family, and all of that was memorable.
Mm.
There's one memorable moment which was deciding what the BFG was going to wear. You know, we couldn't decide what he was going to have on his feet, and I went home, and a day or two later, this large, strange brown paper parcel arrived. And that was one of Roald's own sandals, and that's what the BFG wears. And you think, yes, they are close, aren't they? You know?
Yeah, I'd imagine not many writers.
And it just gave me the answer, you know. But I mean, I'll always remember this parcel turning up.
Certainly very original. Yeah.
Yes. I mean, just solved it, you know. Yeah.
I mean, could you see that, you know, when you first started working and that sort of partnership you had, could you see it being a formula for success, or was it really unprecedented?
No, I couldn't know that.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a fair chance of something because he was a celebrated writer already, both for adults and for children. You know.
Yep.
But I couldn't realise how many books we were going to do together, and how successful. I mean, I knew he was good. Obviously, he was going to be successful, but I don't think anybody could quite know how extraordinarily successful.
That something like that would be, yeah.
No, and in a sense, it's gone on because after, I mean, he died 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And then I went back and illustrated all the books I hadn't illustrated, you see, before. They were brought into a kind of sequence.